Welcome to Sit Down with the Superintendent, presented by GCHS TV. Join us as we welcome Greenup County Superintendent Tracy Moracey to our roundtable discussion hosted by GCHS students. And welcome into our final edition of Sit Down with the Superintendent. I'm your host, James Collier, joined with Tracy Moracey. And the scene's a little different this last episode.
It is.
It's a truly sit-down show now.
It depicts what our year has turned into.
You see the setting behind us. This is what we're putting forward right now for graduation. We're 2 nights in. Things have gone very well.
Yes.
We can't say thank you enough to all of our students, families, everybody that's been a part of it. All of the people behind the scenes that has helped get our students and our families in here and be able to celebrate this very memorable occasion.
Yes.
I can't get words out today.
We're tired.
Yes.
We're not going to lie, we're tired. We've been here every night. I cannot say thank you enough, even just to the staff who have went above and beyond, putting things together, organizing. To the degree of, you can't see it here, but there are arrows and lines and markings all over this room where people can stand so that we're doing the social distancing like we need, but we can still get a few families in at a time instead of having people waiting outside. We can actually get a line and a procession going, and kids are getting to see each other graduate a little bit, which is a little bit more than I think what people were understanding. We've had quite a few people come up to us afterwards and say, hey, I didn't realize this is what it was going to be like, and this isn't bad.
It was kind of something we didn't know what to expect either when we put this together, and we really took our time. And kudos to Jason Smith for all of the stuff that he really sat down and had the kind of the nuts and bolts behind this, and then we ironed out a few things, and so far this thing it's gone very, very well.
Yes, and Melissa Bowling has done a phenomenal job coordinating with Miss LeMaster, and I know Scarlett Shoemaker's been over here quite a bit doing the spacing and the arrows and all of that. So it's just kind of been a team effort. And James, thank you very much. I know you have to be exhausted, and I would love to tell you your work is done, but
I still have a little bit to go.
You have a little more to do. So
I will say this: I'm through most of day 2 on the editing. All of the opening ceremonies is finished and stuff, and I'm really excited for the product for everyone to get to see next Friday night. This will air live next Friday night. It will start at 7 p.m. It'll be on YouTube. We'll post the stream links, several different avenues across social media. And the nice part of it is that if you can't watch it live at 7 o'clock, you can always go back and watch it anytime that you wish. And feel free to share that link out with your friends and family as well.
And they can download and save.
Yes.
You can download and save. Another option you might want to check out, this Saturday on prime time, they are doing an honor to 2020 graduates.
Okay.
And Greenup County actually submitted pictures to this, and I got a sneak preview, and I think we made the cut.
Cool.
So Saturday night it's going to be on CBS, Fox, ABC. All the big stations are doing a tribute to high school graduates, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a big picture of our PEP section. We're holding a farmer's sign,
of
so
course.
I'm thinking it must be. I'm thinking it might have been the Russell
game. It was probably a Russell game. That's the only time we go that direction. So probably
but
a good chance.
It was a good picture. So I was excited to see that that's what they got, because it meant a lot of our students got in it, not just a couple. So
hard to believe 2 months ago we started where we are today, and tomorrow is the official last day of school for the 1920 school year. And you look back. Is it just me, or has these 2 months felt like they have lasted for about 8?
I refer to them as dog years, because, not to be negative, everyone's been great. Let me go ahead and say that. The teachers have been fantastic, the admin, working with them, James doing this show so we can keep people informed. Our community has understood our situation and been very supportive. But yes, it has been a very, very long 2 months.
It's without a doubt.
So it's harder when the kids aren't here.
Yeah.
It is so much harder.
And kudos to our students at Greenup County throughout the entire school district. You guys have done a phenomenal job of adapting and overcoming. And I think that's a very important thing for us to understand is some of our students were really thrown to the fire of the distance learning thing. Not
Yes.
everybody was to that point, especially some of our littles, and I think that it's been probably more of a learning curve for the adults than it has been for the kids.
It has been, because they're naturals at the technology, but the part that they're not naturals about is the lack of social connection. Because, little kids and older kids, they all need to interact, and it's very difficult to be within the same four walls every day. So kudos to those kids who went above and beyond, got their homework in on time. Nobody was having to track them down to get that. And, we always hear about the ones that we haven't heard from, or the ones who don't have homework, and rarely do we remember to focus on the ones who did do everything they needed to do.
Yeah.
Showed up for the chats, parents were in the background cheering them on. So we appreciate parents, and I think you got an understanding of what homeschool could be like, and hopefully you still want to send your kiddos back to us and let us take care of them.
I think there's
next
a lot
year.
of parents that's ready to get kids back in the building.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, as we said, tomorrow's the last official day for the school year. Please, everybody just take a deep breath and just relax. And
It's going to be a beautiful day, so it's a perfect day for a
yeah,
last day of school.
and it's one of the things, as far as what the 2020-2021 school year looks like, it's a long ways off. And yes, it's August is when people start talking about it, but we've got a lot of pieces that we still have to wait and see. And the nice thing that I think is that we put out there about it is there are 3 unified, organized plans being put in place.
Yes, we
And
have 3.
hopefully one of those work.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice part of it is that I always tell people, I said, I like to be proactive, not reactive. And I think in this case, that's the thing that we have. And a lot of stuff still to come to fruition over the summertime.
And that's a big deal in Greenup County. You have to be proactive, and you have to consider all aspects of the county. It's a large county.
Yes.
And so I know everyone's heard the rumors out there about an A-B schedule. They've heard about a delayed start, an early start. We are working on 3 separate calendars. There's an early start, the regular start, and delayed start. Most of those calendars, the logistics still look the same. You'd have the same breaks, just that you would have later end dates or earlier end dates based on when we get to start. As of right now, we're still planning on our August calendar. That's where we're looking. July is something that the state has mentioned to us. We're pretty sure the kids are exhausted, the parents are exhausted, and the teachers are exhausted, to the point that it might be, and we just want to see where this virus is going.
Sure.
So we're putting July on the table just because we need to have a proactive approach, but I think it's probably the least popular choice right now.
I would agree with that totally.
I'm afraid I might get ran out of town.
Yeah,
and
you
I
may.
just got
Well, I
to
may
town.
fire you
I
from
just
the
got-
show right now. Okay. You start talking about
So,
July. No.
Yes, but that is one of the things they've asked us to prepare for. We have prepared it. We do not plan on using it unless we are forced to use it.
One thing to put out is, and this is still on the sports side, per the KHSA, we are still in a mandated dead period, which again, there's a different direction it's going, because the announcement saying, I think it was June 15th, the governor has allowed, as of right now, that it's very few contact sport that you can do. So essentially like baseball, softball, stuff of that nature. That the golf,
I've heard golf might be an
stuff
option.
that you can still practice social distancing on. But as of right now, everything is still under the dead period, and that's one of the things that we have to understand is that we can't go out and, again, if your kid is, if they're a high school baseball player, they can't go off right now and play in another league because they're still a rostered player for that team.
Yes, and so we'll know more, and as Commissioner Tackett starts to release more information to everyone, but he does send something weekly just to kind of let us know where we are, and that was his latest.
Yeah.
But one of the things they did mention for fall that should not be a problem would be golf, and they mentioned cross country would be one that would be, because they're all individualized sports.
And I think that the time right now, they were forced, they had to go across the board.
You did.
But now they can look at details, and there may be some sports that they can do that maintain social distancing that's okay. And there's other sports that maybe some are not going to like what they hear. I know that they've talked different avenues about football. And, you're talking about playing football. If we do, with no one in the stands.
Yes.
And that's going to be a very different thing. And again, when you look at football and basketball, those are your revenue sports, and there's a lot of programs that fund their entire athletic program based off of those two seasons.
Yes, those two sports have your highest revenue and also your most contact.
Yes.
So I feel like that all of our sports go off the emotions of the crowd. You know, they feed off the crowd, and so that's the part that I'm the most concerned about is, you know, the crowd is what helps. You're like the 12th man
that's
on the field.
the home field advantage.
So I'm not excited about that. I know coaches aren't. I'm very pro competition.
Yes.
In case anybody hasn't figured that out, and so I really want to see it.
We'll take there was always an old saying that anytime that you went into the RCA Dome in Indianapolis, they always claimed that they were pumping in extra crowd noise. We may have to work on that.
I feel like you're the guy for the job.
I may have a few ideas behind
Okay,
that.
all right,
so.
good to know, good to know.
Also, if you have any uniforms by any means, whatever season it may have been, get those back to your coaches. We do need to collect all of those to make certain we have everything back that we started with.
And Chromebooks.
Yes.
We loaned out a lot
Chromebooks,
of Chromebooks.
calculators, any of that stuff needs to be returned.
If you've gotten your work finished and you've missed the drop-off date, that's okay. We will take them. We're still in the buildings. Come by, let them check it out.
Yeah, so you're tired too.
Yeah, I am. And, it doesn't mean that we won't reloan it in the fall if that's what we need to do.
Sure.
But we just need them back and get them accounted for.
Let's talk about the grading situation, and there's been several different things throughout the way that the situation was going with grading. Essentially, the way that it was determined is the student in the fourth 9 weeks cannot go anything lower than their first 3 9 weeks grade average. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So we started looking at what disparities kids would be coming across by not having a teacher with them face-to-face on a day-to-day basis. And we know that's the role of the teacher. That's the beauty of in-school and not doing homeschool, is to have that access to that teacher that makes those connections. So because we felt there was still going to be some disparity for kids, we chose to go the route that any grades you had the first 3 9 weeks, because it just so happened that this ended on the last day of the third 9 weeks. So it was a perfect break for everything. But the problem is no one had fourth 9 weeks grades. So what we have done is we have just made a statement to all the schools from the district office that all 3 9 weeks can be averaged into what is your average grade, and whatever you come up with the items that were submitted in fourth 9 weeks, that will be included so that you cannot go lower than what you ever were in the first, second, and third 9 weeks. So your fourth 9 weeks cannot go lower than what you already had. So you can't suddenly fail Algebra 2 because you were making C's and B's but just didn't have maybe access at home to get the extra tutoring and things that you might have needed to understand how to do a quadratic equation. This gives them a little bit more of a break. Now, this doesn't mean that if you sat and didn't turn in a single thing, you're automatically getting a B. That is a whole different avenue. If you've been non-existent and you've got to show up and do some work.
Yeah.
But if you have put forth your effort, then the teachers are on board to make sure that you get nothing lower than what you already had. Now, remember, you might have just rocked it at home, and that might be what you're really good at, is doing online learning. You might have raised your grade, and you can easily raise your grade. So
Absolutely.
It can go higher than what the original average was. It just can't go lower.
And understand this too, that if we would end up in a situation to where we go back to school under the distance learning program in August, this is basically a one-time
This
gig.
is a gift.
Yeah,
This is a wash.
Yeah.
Because when we go back in August, it's going to be all hands on deck, making the adjustments and making sure that we're problem solving all summer long to fix those gaps.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be doing this summer, is finding out ways to reach kids who were having gap issues.
And again, we understand the situation. It was a very unique situation. There was a lot of intangibles that some people didn't know how to attack, and it's been, as Jason Smith says all the time, he said, we've been building this plane as we fly it. But I think we've got a flyable airplane for the fall model if we need it. So
we've got a flight plan.
Yeah, I think we're definitely clear for takeoff. Real quick, Eugene, Grace, thanks for letting me know. I had a few audio problems.
Oh, okay.
We were a little low today. Yeah, okay. But we're set up a little different. Like I said, we're not in the studio, so things are a little different.
I'm not using my teacher voice.
No, there's not a teacher voice in me right now.
Yeah.
It's not there. When we wrap up with schools, I know we've got the schools that are allowing kids to come back in and get that stuff out. If for some reason a student missed one of those days, they couldn't get back in, is there a way they can contact someone at school to get back in and get that stuff?
Schools are still open 9 to 1, and actually staff is still reporting until May 28th. So those are optional hours to come in, reach out, do an email, call the school, and they will make arrangements to meet you there and make sure you get what you need.
Excellent. So yeah, make sure to get back in, get any of that stuff out of the lockers, because that's the one thing is that once the deadline passes, then the custodial staff will start going back through and removing all that stuff, doing their full cleanings and stuff. And I know, like right now at the high school, they've already gutted the classroom, started resurfacing the floors. My floor has already been ready for next year.
Well, you got all your equipment out.
Yeah, all of my stuff's down here, so it made it easy. But
here's a perfect example. My own child, her day is today to go to Wortland Middle School and get her items out of her locker. Obviously, she is a 6th grader. She's not driving herself down there. And
haven't turned her loose with the car yet.
I have not turned her loose with the car yet. We are starting to turn her loose on a bike.
There you
go. That's
about
it. So with that said, I will do an arrangement to get Maria's stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they do even have a makeup date at Wortland Middle School on Monday.
Gotcha.
So.
For the high school, also wanted to pass this along. Miss Cooper just sent this out right before we went on the air. Awards for students that will be picked up May 18th. You can pick those up, and there's a list that that has been posted to the teachers. We're going to share that through Google Classroom with our classes, so you can see if you have an award that you need to come by and pick up May 18th here at the high school for those awards that you can come in.
Shout outs to the middle schools and the elementary schools who have been doing the virtual awards. I don't know if you've seen some of those, but they've done a very nice job. Check them out on Facebook and Twitter. They've been posting individual student awards, all A's, all B's, grade level awards, and subject areas. So, and then out in the parking lot out here, you will see some nice banners that have been hung by our maintenance department and arranged through T&L Photography. And we just wanted the spring sports to have the same honors that the other sports usually get. So those are hung outside so that everyone can see them.
Nice. So we've got a lot of those out there.
I saw a few senior pictures yesterday where a senior stood by their banner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was
nice.
neat to see.
And one thing that I wanted to point out, because I did have a couple questions, if your senior is not hanging out here, the big reason for that is that they probably did not get the photograph over to their coach.
Yeah, you got to get it to us.
So you got to get it to us, and if you haven't gotten it over to us yet, that's fine. Still get it to us. We'll get those taken care of. We want to celebrate all of our seniors that lost their senior seasons here in the spring sports. So, so if you look out there and you don't see your senior, let us know, and we'll get that taken care of.
I would like to get those up if anybody still has theirs to submit, because it would be great to have that up for the parade.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, we've got one final segment of the Victory Garden. Carrie Davis, I had to bring her out of retirement. Mr. Blevins, his wife, they're due for their first child.
Yes,
so
I heard yesterday was the deadline, but I haven't heard.
I haven't heard anything yet, but he told me last week. He said he said you're gonna have to tag team in. So I got Carrie Davis, and she was super prepared, super nervous.
I have no doubt.
And did a fabulous job. So this will be our final segment of the Victory Garden. So we'll play that. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up here in just a little bit. All right, welcome back to another edition of our Victory Garden segment. Joined with Carrie Davis this week. Mr. Blevins, he had to tag you in. His wife, I believe, they're ready to have their first baby, so we had to give him a slide on this one.
Yes,
but
for sure.
This will be our final segment as we've gone through all of this, and we're going to bring in our original tomato plant a little bit later on. But today we're going to talk about some soil, and we're actually going to be planting stuff through seeds. So let's go through that. Let's start first with our soil. There's a lot of things people don't understand, that you can have soil that's too dry, which a lot of people think of. You can also have soil that's way too wet.
For sure. So for a seed to germinate, there are some requirements that the environment has to offer. First of all, there has to be adequate moisture for the seed coat to take in moisture, swell, and then rupture, which would release the root radicle and the cotyledon. And if there's not enough moisture, those things aren't going to happen. If there's too much moisture, your seed is going to rot. And so there's a simple test you can do, whether you are seeding inside or outside. And so soil that's too dry, when you do a gentle squeeze, does not keep the shape of your hand at all, way too dry. Likewise, soil that's too wet, when you do
this is the mud balls.
Yes, when you do a gentle squeeze, water is dripping out, and that's too much. Okay, soil that is at the right moisture level, when you take a fist and make a gentle squeeze, it keeps the shape of your hand, but you could like easily knock it apart. So that's right about perfect.
Now, one thing, bring the bucket back over, because this is one of the things we talked about in the container planting that we talked about, that you can put this in the bucket. If you don't put those holes in the bottom of it, you can kind of see down in the bottom of the bucket there. It's just a big slimy sludge, and this will kill your plants. And the other thing of it is, too, this type of soil, while everybody thinks that, the water is so great for it, the root never has a chance to really develop because it actually rots from the bottom up.
For sure, it drowns. And so a lot of times we don't think, we're so worried about not watering our plants and then dying, but there is air pockets in there that are absolutely equally as necessary as moisture for the...
Yeah, when you get these pots from the store, the holes are in there purposely.
Yes.
It wasn't just somebody that was bored and they thought, oh, well, we've got these lying around and stuff. So, again, if you have anything that's like this at home, yeah, we don't want that, okay? So this is bad.
Yeah, and you can drill holes in the bottom of your bucket, or if you don't want to drill holes in your bucket for something later, just throw some gravel or broken pottery shells in there. That'll kind of give you a
and again, if you go in the bucket, you can just kind of come in here in the bottom, take a small drill bit, a 1/4-inch bit, put you 2 or 3 holes in the bottom here. Don't come up on the sides, because I guarantee you want that water not to pocket in the bottom of the bucket. Go ahead and let it drip out of the bottom, and you're good to go from there. So that's a little thing that we can work with there. All right, so let's look. We've got our great soil here. This one's ready for some seeds. So let's plant some stuff. What are we going to plant today?
Well, we have some bush bean seeds that we're just going to start. And so I would maybe like to mention, if you are lucky enough to have a garden space, checking your soil moisture is going to be equally important outside. Sometimes we're at the mercy of Mother Nature, how much rainfall she's given us, and also the geography of our garden. If we have a low-lying area, it might pool, so you'll kind of have to watch the workability of your soil. But and so that is one of the ways that we can seed. You can take these seeds for sure, and you can do what we call direct seeding, which is take them right out into your garden or into your container that they're going to grow in permanently, and you can directly seed them and wait for them to germinate and go. There are some risks, especially when you direct seed out in the garden, because you might have low germination rates, or the weather might be a factor, and then also little animals might come along and want to munch on the tops, and so then you have planned for this space, but then you didn't have as many plants make it to fruition as you had wanted. So the other method that we can use is indirect seeding, which is a little bit more labor, but it offers several advantages. And so you can start these inside, baby them along, and then when they're ready to transplant into your container that you want to keep on your porch or the garden, you have an exact plant, exact number that you can put in a space, and you offer a little bit bigger head start.
This is kind of what you get when you go to the store, you go to the greenhouse, and you purchase those plants. Those plants have been in a greenhouse. They've been indirect seeded,
yes,
and then they're ready to come out of that and go back into the ground.
Yeah, for sure. So you can start indirect seeding in your house in anything, and probably a lot of the kids in their grade schools have done projects where they start them in egg cartons or even egg shells or little cups. You can put them in anything, and so we just have a little pot here. And so the main things are, you want to read the package label and say, okay, what's the planting depth, and you want to just put your seeds in there, and then
you're just basically lying the seeds right on the top part of the soil, and then just enough soil to cover those up. You're not shoving them down inside the plant pot whatsoever, just enough to keep them nice and covered.
Right. And covering is, well, I should say, you can cover them with a paper towel. A lot of kids have probably done the terrarium project in school, and you can seal it in there with that. The main thing is maintaining that moisture, keeping the moisture in there, and increasing that seed to soil contact so it can absorb moisture from the soil and then germinate for you. You're going to want to water these because, again, they need moisture to germinate. Some people will spritz it with water. That's a gentle way to water. If you're going to pour water on it, that's okay, but a lot of times what happens is you're pouring water on and it exposes the seed, and we lose that seed to soil contact.
Yes.
The paper towel is a good barrier for when you do pour water on it. It will let the moisture stay in there, but it won't. It will, okay, too ahead of myself. This will protect the seed from being exposed. And then as the seed germinates and those cotyledons emerge, it will gently push your paper towel up, and you can check it every day and see.
Sure.
And once you see the cotyledons emerging, you can just take this off and you're done.
So you want to leave that on there until you start to see something actually coming through the soil as first.
Yeah.
Good deal.
That's a good. And I would say whether you are direct or indirect seeding, labeling is important, or at least making a note somewhere, because these bush bean seeds can take 10 to 14 days to germinate, and it'd be real easy to lose track of time and give up on them and pitch them. And so you can make a label out of anything. You could even, with a pencil, write on the paper towel today's date, and then I always write what type it is, because I am very forgetful, and I'll be like, what was that
I think a lot
again?
of us are this time of year.
And there will be a big surprise between.
And that was one of the things that Mr. Blevins and I talked about last week. We did some cucumber seeds, and he said, the nice thing with cucumber seeds, you see something very rapidly. And he said probably within a week to 2 weeks, you're ready to take that out of the container, put it in the ground if you want to.
Yep.
Let's talk about if you're going to a garden, and again, sometime we're at Mother Nature's mercy, and I know the area that I have labeled out for my garden, I've got a very large size. It's inside of a fenced-in area, so I'll keep all the critters out, but it's on a little bit of an incline. So when you start looking at that, you have to understand, as you talked about the runoff, certain plants don't want a lot of water, certain plants want a lot of water, and you have to plan for that for when you get that rain runoff to make certain. Don't put your pepper plants down where all that water's going. They don't want a lot.
No. Make your land work for you, because we've all been given some different spot of land, and there's so much to it, and we see it as a challenge, but we can try to make it beneficial if we think about it ahead of time.
And this is something that right now, again, we're all kind of stuck in the house and staying safe and healthy at home. This is a great project for the kids to do, because the nice thing is, especially if they do a seed, a lot of those things happen very rapidly. So they see that instant impact they like to see, so they can see what's going on, and it gives them a little bit of kind of a feeling of success that they've done something.
For sure. I might like to cover our onion sets before we leave.
Yes, absolutely. I love some onion sets.
Okay.
I just like to take the tops off, the green onions. That's the best part.
So many parts that we can enjoy that are edible. So when you pick, you can do onions from seeds, but the quicker way is from these sets. And so there's a little tuft at the bottom that may even look like a root structure, and that would be the pointy top needs to go toward the top. And so you're going to put that into just where the pointy top is just barely at the surface. And 4 to 6 inches is about the right spacing. Some people will space them closer because they might like to go in and pick the tops off or pull up young, smaller onions, or you can wait till they get bigger. It really depends on your preference, and you can eat the top or eat the bottom. Don't be afraid when you pull your onion out of the ground. If it's like the outside layer looks a little rough, peel that off, and inside you'll get to a nice product that you would want to take in and put on the dinner table.
Now, speaking of onions, there's 2 different ways that you can grow these, and actually you can do both of them at the same time. You have to determine, are you going after the wild green onion part of it, or are you going actually after the onion itself? And if you want the larger onion head, that's all about your soil, because the tighter compacted the soil is, the smaller that onion's going to stay, because it can't grow and expand.
Yes, soil composition affects a lot of our root crops and the way they grow, and so absolutely that'd be something to consider. And again, it goes back to, what's my land giving me? Is there a place that's maybe a little bit less clay around here,
really,
little sandier or loamier, that we could put those root crops in?
And again, if you're going to do something like that, something that you can always do, get yourself a couple bags of topsoil or potting soil to really loosen up that ground and kind of do a nice mixture so it keeps that ground nice and soft for that type of plant. Now, if you're just going after, you just want the green onions, not a big deal. It'll harden up, it'll hold that thing right in place, and they'll grow as large as you want them to be. But if you're after that onion head as well at the end, keep that soil loose, because as soon as it starts to compact around it, that onion's pretty much where it is.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about our big guy here. Week 1, Mr. Blevins and I, we put this in our pot, and this was a tiny little tomato plant, and now look at it. It's at the point we were talking this morning. This is ready for a stake now.
Yes, for sure. The earlier you can stake your tomatoes, the better, because you reduce the risk of damage to the roots by waiting till they get too big. And also I might mention that this is a good time to pick off these bottom green leaves. One way you can tell is some of them are even in the soil, and so just pinching them off real close to the stem. And then as you go off, as your plant gets bigger, there'll be more limbs that you want to pick off.
Now,
or sucker.
what does that obtain? What do we do by picking those off? What does that do for the plant?
Right. So one thing is, with this touching the soil, it's going to rot, and that causes a problem that can spread back. Another one is, and the main thing is, it allows the plant to put more nutrients to the top part and ultimately to the produce. And so any kind of weak limbs or damaged limbs, you'll want to pick them off as they go so that it can put more nutrients toward that instead of those little ones.
And then we talk about staking this, and this is something we said, depending on whether we're going to keep it in this planter or if we were putting it in the garden, the earlier you can get the stake in the ground, the better, because the one thing is as this plant gets larger, the roots really start to develop, and if you go into the ground at that point, you can really disrupt that root structure.
Yep, for sure. Earlier would be better.
Earlier would be better. So, well, I'd say this thing, he's probably grown at least 2 or 3 inches and really has started to bush out.
It's very dark green, a good color.
Yeah, it's got
Healthy.
a good color. We can look at the soil looks nice and moist, but not too wet. And I'd say probably in about 6 to 8 weeks, we'll probably start seeing some nice red ripe tomatoes on this one. But we'll see that from another day. Carrie Davis, thank you so much.
Thank you, James Collier.
And it's been a fun time here with the Victory Garden. Hoping everyone at home has had success with your gardens. And again, send us those pictures through the Facebook page, correct? Help me out here. I forgot what it was.
There's Greenup County Farm to Table. We want to see what you're growing and what food you're putting on your own table. And then there's the hashtag TogetherGC. And we're excited to see it.
Guys, stay safe at home. Have a great summer, and we'll talk to you soon. So there you see our final segment for the Victory Garden. And again, continue to send those pictures over to the Farm to Table Facebook page. You can also, if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag TogetherGC. We love to see what you guys have done with this. And it's been a fun segment for me to go in and talk a little bit about the gardening aspect and stuff. It's something I enjoy doing as a hobby. And when I do my stuff, all the stuff I typically grow outside of my corn, it's specifically for salsa.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing I do. I mean, I peppers, tomatoes, onions, it's all for the salsa.
I can see
so.
that. Do you do your own cilantro?
No, I don't do the own cilantro. I've never tried the cilantro. I make...
I hear it grows pretty easily, actually.
Yeah, it probably would. I may have to try to put some of it in the ground this year.
That's what makes it.
It's
I
all...
gotta have my cilantro.
My big secret to mine's brown sugar.
Oh, you make a hot sweet?
I make 3 different types. I make a sweet, I make a sweet heat, and then I just make a straight hot. And the hot, it warms you up pretty good.
Okay.
So I've got plenty of hot still in the cupboard.
So I have a question. Are we switching over from doing the vegetable segments and Victory Gardens into homemade cooking?
Listen, I've already got my girls that take care of the cooking segment. I'll turn that loose.
I don't know if I would
turn that group of girls loose with peppers. I just don't know that that's a safe thing.
I have confidence in
Kiara, Aaliyah, and Haley, if you guys are watching, I love you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I am not giving you any form of peppers.
Gloves, ladies, and
Yes.
don't touch your eyes.
Funny story. I remember when I first started gardening, and I was making some omelets one morning, and I had cut up a pepper to put into the eggs, and later that day I had gone in to take a cucumber and didn't even think about it and just grabbed the knife and just the oil had gotten on that.
Yeah.
And we thought that we had something that had cross-pollinated. We thought we had like a pepper cucumber or something.
Oh, you thought
no,
you
it was
missed-
just dummy me that didn't get the knife washed off well
Yeah.
enough.
Do the dishes.
Goodness sakes. That's
Okay,
it.
so I want to see that tomato on a sandwich.
Oh gosh,
at
yes.
some point, just like, because this is our last show.
Yes.
So we need to make sure you're posting a picture of that.
I'll have to tell Carrie to make sure. I'm gonna have to get that plant, just take it home and take care of it, and then I'll post it. We'll put a label across it, Together GC, and we'll have a big sandwich with it.
That sounds great.
That'd be fabulous.
All right.
Tracy, 2 more nights of graduation to go.
Yes.
But this has been an event that we had no idea what to expect going in, and knock on wood, it has been an amazing success so far.
Yes, and it's all about that organization. So, and cooperation from the families, understanding that they have to wear masks. I will tell you that our masks that we provide you are not fantastic, because we had to go the lowest, cheapest budget route we could go with it, and
still meets the PPE standards.
Yes, it still meets the standards, and they're approved, but they are not anything they're not a fashion statement.
Yes.
That's what I'll say. So if you have your own mask, please bring your mask and wear it. You do not have to wear it across the stage. When you get to the corner up here at the edge of the stage, you remove your mask, and that way it's not in the picture. So don't worry about that. But if you just wear your mask so that while you're waiting and you're in groups, when you're doing the close communication and talking, we like you to have a mask on.
Absolutely. So again, 5 o'clock tonight that starts up. Again, 5 o'clock tomorrow night. And we hope to have everybody finished up at that point. And then this will be posted on YouTube. It'll air live Friday, May 22nd at 7 p.m. That was our scheduled time for graduation here. And you'll be able to sit down, watch that with your family. And again, if you can't watch it at 7 o'clock that evening, it's posted there. Sit down and watch it at your convenience and whenever you can.
And what's neat is the families who couldn't have flown in to see it will now get to still see it.
Absolutely.
So I know a lot of people have flights issues. They can't do that now. And, people come in and see their graduates. And now you can share it across the country. And then just don't forget, next week, the 21st, we're going to work on getting better details out to you, but we do want to have a senior parade.
Yeah.
So we will see you on the 21st, and then show you a nice show on the 22nd.
Yep. So guys, stay home, stay healthy. Again, even though they're starting to open up the state, again, follow those 10 guidelines that Governor Beshear talks about each day with his teleconference. If you can stay in, stay there. But if you do go out, do it in a safe manner. So.
And just know I did finally
wait a minute. We got to stop this. I can't allow this on my show.
I am a Marshall graduate. Everything I have is Marshall University.
Tracy.
But someone gave me one of these, and I wore it. And I don't have a problem with it. I'm okay with it. It's okay. It's all right.
It's such a terrible color. I feel so bad right now. I'm very, very uncomfortable.
My preference is green. My preference is green.
And I will say this: I have seen Tracy sitting through rain at
a Marshall game.
At a Marshall game.
Yeah,
so
I'm a diehard Herd
yeah, she's
fan.
a diehard Herd fan.
But yeah, so just so you know, I'm doing my part.
She's doing her part. Guys, have a great summer. Thank you for everything that you guys have done, from the students to the faculty and staff to our parents and guardians at home. Thank you for everything that you guys have done, Tracy. I know that you've gotten moved, and hopefully you guys are ready to settle in and enjoy that new home. So
Yes.
2 more nights of graduation, and hopefully we can relax for just a little bit.
Yes, I'm ready to just get on my couch.
Absolutely. Guys, for everybody here at GCHS TV, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great summer.